It's a new year, and finally we're back to some progress report updates on Star Citizen. I released a video about 6 days ago that went over some features that we were expecting in the game this year. That video's got comments telling us that these features won't make it into the game. Star Citizen has just released a new little update on YouTube here, and it's looking like the first of the features in that video are going to be coming in the first update here in March. At least that's expected. So today we're going to look at what those features will look like. That's personal interaction, which I think will make a big difference to the new player experience in this game and really make things better for everybody, but also the new EVA version. Enjoy.
It's a new year, and with every new year comes the refresh after holiday break, the review of process and personnel alike, and the renewed sense of determination to make each year of Star Citizen's development even better than the last. And in 2024, that includes the return of so many Squadron 42 developers to our persistent universe fold, all of which are working to add their feature.
I also saw somebody make the comment earlier today that it would take us a year to see the benefits of the Squadron 42 devs moving over. And let me tell you, as somebody who was absolutely wrong about saying that about the Montreal team that opened up back in 2021, probably not the case.
And advancements to the already stellar work of the SC devs we all know and love. And so to get this multi-month marathon started, let's throw it now to Chris, Alexis, Gennady, Inez, and Kian of the eponymously named Team Kian to show us a bit of what they're working on for Alpha 323.
So we showed a lot of interesting things in CitizenCon, and a lot of which is from Kian's team. We're going to be bringing a lot of that to you guys soon this year. And we're going to be talking about the designs of those features and also how we went about making them. You're going to be doing a lot of these the next 4 months, aren't you?
Yeah.
The old EVA system had its purpose, but it had a lot of problems.
So the old EVA was not...
It had
Kind of got Henry Cavill
a lot of
eyes,
problems.
Huh?
So the old EVA was not quite controllable.
The entry and exit
Literally, you'd hit your leg on the side of a ship and you would just say, okay, I don't want to control my character for the next 10 seconds, no problem.
into EVA not being very smooth, a lot of face planting.
Oof.
Changing orientation was a problem. You never really knew which kind of way your body was in.
Yeah.
The upright pose was a little bit awkward for traversing spaces as well. You couldn't really fit into narrow spaces,
I can feel all of this.
and it was a bit restrictive for transitioning around space stations and things like that, especially interior spaces.
In
Yeah.
addition to that, the sort of volume
Video team's on point this year already.
you take in order to rotate and look around is huge. It's basically rotating your body every time you just look to the right, look up, etc. That doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look great, and it doesn't feel wonderful if you're in a confined space because, again, you're clipping against everything.
Just don't really think it fit with what we want to do in our game.
It's not a bad system. It got us to where we are today.
You can say that for
But
so
we
much.
wanna
Of,
make
you can
improvement.
say that for so much of Star Citizen right now. Which, thank God, they're finally getting around to updating those systems.
And there are other features and systems that we need to tie into EVA, which brings us to what's coming this year.
What's new?
So there's multiple aspects of the new EVA system that makes it a lot more versatile. The first is that when you start looking around, it's your camera and your head that's moving. Your body, most of the time, doesn't. So if I'm heading in a certain direction and I want to see what's behind me, I can just look behind me, but I see my body. I get that instant frame of reference as to where I am, where my body is, and it just grounds the experience.
So with the new system, we put the player into a...
Interestingly, the animations for this, a lot of you know this, is just the prone animations, which I just love. That's so nice. I'm sure they had to tweak them a little bit, but it's nice to be able to reuse little animations of the body like that.
more prone pose, kind of a superhero pose.
Okay.
Makes
You just could have waited another second to say that.
a much smaller silhouette when traversing around areas.
Can you show us how the EVA works? Show us how the EVA works.
So now EVA works like this. You move forward and you just fly. And
Have a
That's good, that's good.
turn when you rotate.
And when you rotate, you're like,
The footprint of the character doesn't start to change. So if I want to look around in this tight-knit space, I'm not suddenly spinning around and knocking all the things off the shelves. I'm just looking around, which means that the metrics we can support for that feature suddenly become much more versatile. You can get
I feel
on
like something they're not really mentioning here.
into a
Whoa,
room.
just muted without pausing. Something they're not really mentioning here is some of these folks look like they're uncoupled. Right? They're not actually using EVA thrusters, or maybe they're just not showing us, but they look like they're just floating.
I'm just looking around, which means that the metrics we can support for that feature suddenly become much more versatile. You can get on a vent rather than not being able to fit into a
No,
room.
that was a thruster.
It's also a lot prettier to watch someone who's got a weapon or just looking around, rotating around as they're doing so.
There we go.
From the outside, it looks better. From the player experience, it just really helps out. You knowing where you are and what you're doing.
We've smoothed out transitions entering and exiting EVA. So no more face planting.
Dude, did you guys see how he didn't look at that explosion?
Without transitions entering and exiting EVA.
This guy's so cool.
So no more face planting unless you really, really try.
in new EVA, you can just
I'm glad to
press
know we
forward
can.
and you fly. If you release the button, you keep flying while you still can rotate and look around.
Yeah, we've allowed it so you can turn on the spot without altering your silhouette, which is quite nice for interior traversal again. Feels a lot more natural, a lot more responsive to the player.
Yeah, we're going like this.
Hey,
Yeah,
that was
we're going
nice.
like this.
Video team, what are you doing?
Fresh.
The
Here we
features
go.
we're going to be bringing out.
See, okay, this is what I think is the most interesting part, because if you go back to a lot of the older stuff that CIG was, teasing us with a little bit, like if you go back to this visual teaser they showed us a while ago, pretty cool video, and there's a shot here. It's like the only time, one of the only times I can ever recall. Where is that? Them ever showing us actual like grabby hands navigation, and this is 2019. This is 5 years ago. Here it is. That right there is the only bit of footage we ever got, from what I remember, of 0G hand using navigation. Ever since then, they talked about it. Yeah, you're gonna have to use your hands to move around. You're gonna have limited EVA fuel. You're gonna have to figure things out. But we never got anything since then. So I'm really interested to see finally, after 5 years, where that system has gone and how it realistically look in the game. Gotta change out my headphone battery. Give me 1 second. Too much heavy listening. Let's go.
At some point later, soon. We've got zero-G traversal.
Wait, did
and
he
that's
say?
your attack.
Did he say later?
The features we're going to be bringing out at some point later, soon. We've got zero-G traversal, and that's you attaching to a surface. In the previous system, again, because the character was upright the entire time, it just wouldn't have gelled well with that feature. You're effectively in prone, but attached to a surface, and you're moving along that surface or gliding along it if you sprint. That just transitions really nicely from the pose we have for zero-G traversal to the EVA pose. It's almost exactly the same. It's also very similar to prone. So, for example, if you were in a vent and all of a sudden the gravity went out, you could crawl along it in zero-G traversal or move around it in EVA without changing what your body's doing, which just means that it's a far more seamless experience. There's a much less chance of anything going wrong as a result of that as well.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is all coming at the same time, because I almost for a second thought he was saying that the hand traversal was coming later.
We've also introduced the EVA fuel and momentum. So once you start traveling forwards in one direction, you'll keep going in that direction until you press another input or the space brake to stop. This becomes especially important when we introduce EVA fuel.
This also is going to factor into maintaining momentum when you jump out of ships or stuff that are floating in space, right? I hope they mention that.
So you'll have a finite amount of fuel, and just that little boost could be enough just to get you back to the safety of a space station or your ship. sets us up nicely for zero-G push-pull, which comes further down the line.
So in terms of what that means for...
Okay, there's the confirmation. So the push-pull mechanic isn't coming with this first EVA.
For user player and what you're going to be doing with this feature, it allows us to use EVA to get you guys going from your ship to another ship, from your ship to an abandoned space station. You can fly inside ships and space stations without gravity now, without fear of bashing your head and your legs all over the place. It really makes it a much more smooth and easy to use system. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's just more fun. I enjoy just flying in and out of test levels between ships, etc. With the old system, it's a bit slow and lackluster. With this, I feel like I'm a superhero while I'm going around in space. So yeah, the new EVA feature, as you guys see it today, it's hopefully going to look even better once it gets into your hands. And yeah, we're really excited to see what you guys think of it.
All right, so seems to be EVA movement and EVA thrusters. I don't know, the way that they talked about the push and pull was a little iffy, but I do think if you pay close enough attention to what they're saying here, the parts that say EVA in Star Citizen Alpha 323, you know, like if all these shots, yeah, they say it, but then this one doesn't, right? And this one doesn't. That one does, though, but that doesn't have the hand-holding stuff. This one does. This one does. This does. This does. But that doesn't. So I'm guessing that the push-pull, the hand stuff, like he said, that's not going to be in 323. So we're going to have to break this now EVA update out into multiple EVA updates to track how that's going. But I'm guessing that'll be a later patch this year. Fingers crossed, because the overall EVA system should be better than it is now. Anyways, let's look at interaction. This is probably the more useful update anyways. This is going to make a bigger difference. And I think this is the biggest difference this will make for newcomers. So overall quality of life, but also big boost. Show me the good stuff. They love that double vision.
Let's talk about pipets.
They really love that double vision UI in this game.
Well, it was better when it was piss pit.
It used to be piss pit?
Yeah, player interaction system. Yeah.
So let's talk about the new pipis.
Gotta stop saying.
It's coined.
I was too late to change it. I like to say PIS because, yep, sounds better.
Try to avoid HR complaints.
So the burning question is,
this is not
what
piss
is
pie.
pipis? Well, it's everything you interact with around you and how you go about doing that.
It's not always easy to select the interaction that you're looking for.
You have to drag your cursor then to make your selection. And it's not really very fast or intuitive.
And in general, it got in the way of you doing what you wanted. It added an extra layer of menuing that wasn't necessary.
But there's...
For the record, for those who are kind of newer, this is the new system. The old system was a single button called use that would just pop up on things, and you would just kind of, you'd hope that use meant what you wanted it to do. That was a while ago, but this interaction system has gone through iterations. Like what we have now, not even close to what we used to have. It's not great, but they've progressed slower than we wanted to, for sure. So this is a breath of fresh air.
Some things that we wanted to solve, and that's what the new system does.
So with the new personal interaction experience, we have multiple ways of improving how you interact with the items around you.
So we've released little parts of the new system in the past with the pit wheel and the quick select wheels and the control hints. This is by far the biggest iteration on it and will totally change how you interact with things in the world. We've introduced the new interaction prompt, which will show you which item you will interact with by just tapping F, and will also show you the type of interaction that will be
New HUD.
performed.
So the new system, the players don't have to go into interaction mode to interact with the objects.
We've updated that to have an on-screen icon. It gives you the input that you need to press, and it gives you an idea of what you're actually going to do when you press it. So that ambiguity of Am I in range? Is it the item I'm going to interact with? It's gone. You've got an immediate bit of feedback that tells you what you're going to interact with, what you need to press to interact with it, and what you'll do when you interact with it.
So if you're looking at a plushie on the desk, it'll show an F above it with grab, and you can just pick that item up with that. We've also introduced the personal interaction wheel, which instead of the list view, will now give us a nice radio menu that lets you select exactly what you want to do in a much more intuitive manner.
Okay,
and
so this is going to be true. So what's happening here, I guess, is they're offering you the option to press 3 buttons that are in close proximity instead of giving you 3 different press key prompts. Is that what I'm seeing?
Which
open exterior
instead of the list view will now.
But it gives you, I don't know, maybe that's what that button does as its normal function.
Give us a nice radio menu that lets you select exactly what you want to do in a much more intuitive manner.
And with the wheel, it's much more seamless and it feels more...
Yeah, see, this for sure is all of the actions you have on that object. That makes sense. So maybe they were saying that one button did the 3 different things. I was wondering if it was 3 different targets in one wheel or if it was just that button had a wheel. I guess that's the way it was. This looks so much better, though. It's still not like everything that I would like. There's polish that needs to have, which obviously, it's Star Citizen, but this looks much better. Just having a default action is going to speed everything up.
More like there's no barrier between you and the interactions.
And that's locked for the screen, so you can't miss. You're always selecting something, and it's 99% of the time what you want to interact with. Don't sneeze while you're pressing the button.
So Star Citizen also has this thing of like everything in the game is physicalized in the game. So if you were to look at somebody and want to know what their name was, you'd have to have something that made that possible, like a visor. I'm wondering if this is going to go away with that, and they're going to say, hey, you have this random hologram that pops up to show you what you can do with objects, and you don't have to be wearing a helmet for that. Because it obviously taking this away when people take off their helmet or something would be pretty drastic. That might be a bit of a bummer that they're moving away from that, but they're making concessions for the gameplay and trying to make this system work with in-game objects would have been hefty, I imagine.
It's much more intuitive. It's much easier to use. And that option, that problem I mentioned where if you're trying to interact with what's in your hand, that's gone. Now the new system just opens the wheel and you select what you want to do with what's in your hand. It just works.
So this
Yes, it includes putting attachments on. We've been waiting for this too. Oh my God. By the way, it's personal inner thought. So you could kind of lure your way around it and be like, oh, that's my inner thought in my eyes. Sorry, I'm going to get off this topic. I love that they're doing attachments. Oh God, we've been waiting for that.
Now the new system just opens the wheel
mod.
and you select what you want to do with what's in your hand. It just works.
So this new interaction wheel plays really nicely with default item actions, which has been in development for a while, but it needed the whole system to come together as one before we released it.
If, for example, you're out mining gems after blowing up rocks with your multi-tool, you might want to pick a gem up and look at it. Or you might want to just store it directly into your backpack. You now have the option to customize and say, when I look down at that piece of gem, show me the prompt. It's always going to show store. Or it's always going to show carry or inspect.
God, that is such a nice, and like above other games. I don't know if you could do that in other games, but other games I've played with systems like this, I haven't been able to do that. So nice little leapfrog feature.
And you can change that on the fly and it'll remember it. And it just allows you to customize your own experience.
Now the player doesn't have to go to interaction mode to make a selection. It can just simply tap to trigger the behavior.
The new system is entirely data-driven, so from our perspective, it makes it really easy to customize from a designer's point of view. And again, because we've set up that data, you can then customize it yourself.
It allows you to customize the primary and the secondary interaction. So you can change what just tapping F while looking at something does.
If the player changes the default item on that item, the selection will be saved across all the items that match that state and the item category.
It picks up on what you want to do with different item types. So if you want to cuddle a plushie, you can set that to be your default inspect. If you want to be picking up golden lemons and storing them directly whilst you're harvesting, you can set store to be your default, and then that's the way it'll stay. If you want to equip ammo as soon as you come across it to your suit, you can set that as your default item action. So it's something that, with a little bit of interaction from yourself, means that you can customize and tweak your own play experience and really rough out the edges.
One thing I've loved about this system they have for the inner thought wheel is how easy it is. Geez, that's a big needle. Like how we just puncture our suit. Being able to set your, oh man, there's something else I want to talk about on this screen. Being able to set your default action right there in the spot. So like you could go from one room to the next and have different actions because you can always reset which key binding is default based on that wheel. You can do that with your favorites too. I really like that.
Interaction
Check this
from
out.
yourself means that you can customize.
This is a new HUD. This is the first time I think I've seen objectives on the new HUD. But they we don't even, oh God, they look so much cleaner than what we have before. Not only do we have the actual mission name, but the objective up above looks a little bit more polished, and I think this was one of the objective markers they introduced with the new HUD, so nice to see some of those items popping up in these videos. That could give us a good sign that maybe the HUD is also going to be around the same time, possibly. Don't quote me.
And tweak your own play experience and really rough out the edges in terms of your minute-to-minute gameplay and how you interact with things.
We've also introduced a new scoring system for interaction points that allows us to better select which interaction point is of interest to the player. This is based on distance from the player, angle to the cursor or center screen, and whether it's on screen or not. It also allows us to interact with things that aren't quite on screen, so if there's a trolley handle just below you, you'll be able to tap F and you should just grab it. This makes it a lot more intuitive. Something on the ground can have a different default action to something in your hand. This is all set up and customized through the interaction wheel.
And then obviously the player now doesn't have to go into interaction mode, drag the cursor, make the selection. You can just simply tap or double tap to trigger the secondary action, and that should be a much easier experience for the player.
For the record, you could already do this. You could already tap F on an object and just interact with it. The problem was that Star Citizen never tells you that. So I think that's one of the biggest benefits here, is that they're just communicating stuff to us.
Oh, yeah.
We'll forget about what was there before. It'll feel like it has always belonged. You won't be able to live without it, really.
That's just some of the things our team has been working on over the last few months and bringing to SC Alpha 323.
We're looking at bringing you lots more stuff from our work on Squadron 42 into Star Citizen. We're really excited to get that into your hands to improve your overall player experience, the way you travel through the verse. Yeah, when you get your hands on it, please let us know what you think. We're really excited to find out.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that EVA looks sick. Sure, usually I'm a bit more eloquent than that, but damn, I'm allowed to mark out sometimes. That the way we interact with the persistent universe around us is getting a whole lot more intuitive and customizable. And that this new EVA, new default item actions, and new personal interaction system are just the beginning of what this spring's Alpha 323 has to offer. Yes, Virginia, it's gonna be a big one. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Be sure you check out tomorrow's Star Citizen Live, where we dive into even more Alpha 323 goodness, and we'll see you all here next week.
We will be reviewing that one live on the channel, or not live, sorry, after the fact on the channel here. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Honestly, I don't think we're going to have a boring update from now on. I think after 3.20 or so, we were saying something like that. No more boring updates. These two systems are going to be really good quality of life heavy hitters. Like EVA, who's not bothered by EVA in the game? Anybody? Because EVA freaking it's so frustrating to be able to finally move through spaces without our feet banging on stuff and move intuitively and in a way that doesn't take you out of the game's immersion all the time when you see your friends glitching about. I still think there's going to be plenty of glitches, stuttering, and rubber banding, but at least on the animation front, it looks like it's going to be a lot better. Interaction stuff, I'm not even going to talk about that now. I need to make a whole video about that, but I'm really excited to see the interactions changing. And hopefully, the one thing I think I still have a question about is really how many physical interactions are coming with this. There's so much they could do, and there's so much that could still be missing. I love that we're seeing the actual attachment interactions. That's great. Is that across the board? Is that for every attachment? I love that we're seeing the new wheel coming up, but what we didn't see was a lot of the physical interactions that we were expecting.
No bearing.
So these buttons, all these kinds of button presses, and even the one in the cockpit that we saw that I had pointed out, these were not physical presses, and that's what they showed at CitizenCon's. So this isn't that full update of all of the stuff that we've wanted. This doesn't include, it looks like, the button presses or the flips with the switch flips and the wheel turns and all that stuff. I'm sure that might come, maybe they might introduce that later on in the 3.23 patch, but that's also something that might just come later on. It's not all going to come at once. So both of these features are not the complete versions of what we expect from these features, but they are looking good. And this stuff here is definitely going to improve the game for us. In fact, I wasn't really paying attention to this down in the bottom right. Don't think there were any shots that didn't say 323 though, so we're good. But definitely keep an eye on that as we go through these new updates with these features. They're obviously getting split out, so watch out for that lower third, what that says. And I'll see y'all next week. Thanks for coming. Catch you later.